Right when he walked outside, I was like, Peeta, you're gonna die today. You're gonna die, Peeta.
Congratulations on this movie. It is quite a lot of fun. Before I get into the actual movie, though, I'm always curious, what was it that made you want to get into this industry? Was there a performance you saw, or was it a person in your life? What made you want to join?
No, I haven't been asked that in a while. I think I just grew up in a small town where there wasn't a hell of a lot going on. Which was great. I mean, it was a great place to grow up, but I really liked watching movies, and mostly on like VHS, and kind of seeing those stories and experiencing those worlds, and kind of making that stuff. And this was kind of like some of my childhood was before the internet, and so like the idea of that was like between books and movies you could kind of get somewhere else, and I really gravitated towards that. And then once I became older and started creating stories myself, I just thought wouldn't it be great if I could eventually navigate it to let it be my career.
For me, I've always been just really out there. I've always loved singing and dancing and putting on shows and different plays and stuff. And I got into theater when I was 10, and I played the Stinky Cheese Man. I was the Stinky Cheese, and it was that moment, being the lead of the Stinky Cheese play, that I realized that I wanted to be the Stinky Cheese all the time.
I kind of want to see that tape. Is there tape?
It was theater. It was like, it might be on VHS somewhere in like my mom's garage somewhere, but it was definitely that. And I always loved theater, and it was always something that I wanted to do. And then I saw Bodyguard, and I was like, you can't have it all. And from that moment on, I was just like, I want to be Whitney Houston, sans Bobby Brown. Yeah.
Very good. Awesome. And for you, Tyler, what was it that inspired this project?
So this project was, generally like we were brought on to do a rewrite of a project. So it was kind of it's kind of interesting because it was more about less about the immediate inspiration and more about trying to make an effort to consciously craft something original. And so it really came from talking about what we love about horror movies, and what we resonated with when we were high school students, and trying to kind of sew some of that stuff in. And we wanted to make a movie that were like the ones that I really loved when I was in high school, which was kind of just after that big boom in the 90s with the great kind of teen movies. And we were like, why don't they really make those movies anymore? They've kind of shoved those narratives off onto the CW and made them real soft. And I thought it would be kind of fun to revisit that and give it some teeth.
And I love the little nods to it because you reference Final Destination and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
For you are part of the Marvel Universe with Brianna, so did you all know each other before you came into Tragedy Girls?
We had done press before at Comic-Con because we're, Marvel Queens, and that was really fun. I got to meet her. I was just blown away by how cool she was and how down to earth she was, and I was like, man, I really want to work with this chick one day. And then Tragedy Girls came across my iPad and I read it and I fell in love with it. And then when I found out Brianna was signed on to do it, I was like, I need to be a part of this project. Also, I had met Tyler and I was like, oh, he's weird like me. That's so nice. Yay, team.
Was it instant chemistry, or did you guys go to rehearsals, hang out before that?
We did rehearsals. We did rehearse with Tyler for a little while beforehand, but once we got on set, and I think that there's something to be said about once you are there and there's props and, outfits and hair and makeup, and you got your director right there, and it really sinks you into it. And I feel like right after that first day when that red light came on, everyone was on the same page and the chemistry was just flowing and it was just easy, and there's something to be said about working with people that we all make it easy on each other.
Yeah, and that's actually one of my favorite parts is when because you can make up a character and you write them down and it's just words on a page, and then when you're in rehearsal, it all kind of seems real dry run, but as soon as you're there and you see people kind of walk on, you're like, oh, it's the embodiment of something I made up.
Yeah.
And it's very cool to see, and that's actually legitimately one of my favorite moments. And actually, I mean, I think our first or second setup was that 2-shot of you guys on your phone in the classroom.
Yeah.
Which is such a they're 100% the character characters already, and that was like 2 shots into the thing. So like you guys really hit the ground running, which was a lot of fun for me.
Was there improv involved at all, or did you stick to the script?
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of improv on everyone's front. What's awesome about working with someone like Tyler is he's not like, no, only do what I wrote, And sometimes it can be that way, and that's totally fine. That's how they work. Other directors work. But it's fun working with someone like Tyler because he trusted us enough to be able to show him little bits or like dust in a little bit of this or that there, and it was really cool to see the movie and see that he even kept some of the stuff. Like some of the stuff I was like, oh man, I was being really outlandish. They're not gonna keep that take, and then they got the take, and I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, well, and that's part of the advantage of having somebody like Alex is they bring a ton of ideas to the table, which is not always the case. Like sometimes people like that, having that safety net of like, oh, we're gonna do this, and everyone's on the same page. We're just going to do this, no more, no less. But like I have a background as an editor, like I've done a little improv when I was younger, and like I like the idea of keeping that spontaneity, and so we can get I would say you definitely tagged on and sprinkled in a lot more like dialogue and things like that, and a lot of Michaela's like little bits and ads are
thank you.
Yeah, they're all in there, and they kind of were really helpful to me in terms of like I can amp up the comedy or ramp it back, depending on helping with the tone. Whereas like Brianna tended to find more. Like she the stuff that she would add on was a little bit more like real, and
she was so grounding, and I was just like, let's kill them all.
But I think I love that because the polar opposites, it just kind of gives you both sides.
Yeah, exactly. Like one of the I always think of like Brianna's a line, and Alex is a curve, and but they're a great set, so it's kind of
we make a D.
Exactly, for damn awesome, but we. Improv, but yeah, it was it was cool, and like one of my favorite like bits that you did, which is not like which was kind of like an ad, but was really just building on like this idea that was in the script, but it was like in that hallway scene, where you're talking to Jordan and you're talking, and then she's kind of like they're starting to have a moment, and then you just literally walk into Sadie's coverage and like put your head on her shoulder and just like take over the shot, which was like I thought just like so like visually like like aggressive, and I remember like, you did it like during rehearsal, and I was just like, that's so fucking perfect. Yeah. And it was just kind of like, and now I see that scene in the movie, even though like at the time I was like, oh, this is just a transitional scene, so we can get on to the next, kill set piece. And it's like, I'm like, no, that's the movie. Like that's like the embodiment of like, that friendship theme. And it was really cool to see. Yeah.
And it's fun kind of seeing like the stills and stuff from that scene as well, because it looks like Brianna has 2 heads. And I really love that, because that is Sadie and Michaela. I mean, Sadie's sitting there just stone cold, like listening to her friend be like a total jerk to the guy that she kind of likes, like on her shoulder, like literally like an evil parrot. And it's so straight, and I'm just like, oh, maybe your dad can help you find someone to go to prom with. And it's just so messed up, but it plays into the relationship that we have, which is we're 2 different heads on the same body. And it feels that way, between energy-wise between Michaela and Sadie.
So with a movie like this, you can't really give away a lot. So in the trailer, though, there is the scene where you're, stabbing Josh Hutcherson, which seems like it must have been fun, as well as just chopping all the body parts. Yes. So what were those scenes like to film? And I feel like with action scenes, you only get like one chance to really blow up a car. Right. With those, do you really only have a couple chances?
Well, I mean, it's been on my bucket list to stab Josh Hutcherson for a long time.
Over and over again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's always a lot of pressure when there's a lot of stunts and effects involved. So like that day in particular had a lot of pressure, because we had some like big lighting setups that were like like tipping into like the very moist Kentucky soil, and like it was
like our cranes and stuff were getting stuck on the side of the road in the mud.
Yeah, totally. So it was a bit challenging, but I'm not gonna lie to you, I lost sight of the question you asked.
I mean, how much fun was it to kill Peeta?
Oh, it was great.
Oh my God! Right when he walked outside, I was like, Peeta, you're gonna die today. You're gonna die, Peeta. And then I'm gonna kiss your dead carcass.
Right. That's what I was like. Oh, okay, this is where we're going.
Yeah, it gets weird.
Spoiler.
Kayla's weird. Oh yeah, sorry guys. He figures something out.
That's true. We cut the
Learn
scene
something
right
new every day. Yeah, it's really fun being able to film these scenes. For me, I like the little bits. So like in the beginning when I'm hitting what's his cheeks over the head. I'm gonna say what's his cheeks because I don't want to give it away, but I know who I'm talking about. I read the script. I like hit what's his cheeks over the head, or when I'm stabbing Josh, I like do like a little knife twirl and go in and stab him. And I think that in those moments, I really cared about making Michaela seem incredibly well put together. Like, she is a cold-blooded killer. She plays with knives. She doesn't have any qualms with taking a sledgehammer to someone's cranium. Like, she's just so raw, so powerful, and so precise on how she's like, oh, you're not getting the heart right. Give me the knife. That's awesome, you know, and it's so specific, and she's not questioning it. She knows where the heart is. She knows the knife trick that she wants to do, and she knows she wants to do.
I can just picture her in her bedroom with like an operation set, just like going crazy
just
on
like
it,
playing, because she's twisted, man. She's like watching the Kardashians while sharpening her knives. Like, that's hilarious.
Yeah, and I like that, like you like with the prop stuff, like the knife is like bedazzled a little bit, you know, like it's got
it's got like tassels on
flair
it.
on
You gotta
it,
make
you
it
know?
cute.
Like your shoes, they have flair.
Yeah.
I love it. And also, social media is a huge part of this movie. So what is it that scares you most about social media these days?
Well, I mean, Twitter is a pretty horrifying place. And just in general.
Don't say the wrong thing on Twitter.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is, but like, you know, and it has a incredible ability to sway culture, you know, and I think we're just, that came so fast and furious, so like really in the last 10 years, that I think we're still kind of processing it, and we haven't quite landed, like, you know, as, you know, individual consumers of media, like how we feel about this stuff and how we're, you know, how much of a role it has in us getting our information. I think the movie's kind of alluding to maybe we should be, like, you know, personally responsible for, like, you know, our own consumption, you know, be a little bit more critical about, you know, how we're processing things we absorb through that medium.
I think that the scariest thing about social media is beauty standards. And I was just talking about this earlier, but as a girl, I remember growing up and reading magazines and being like, God, I really wish I looked like this beautiful 6-foot blonde volleyball playing Sports Illustrated model. And nowadays it's not even about looking like how girls look in magazines, because now magazines are changing the way that they're doing things, and they're keeping our starch works, they're keeping our cellulite, they're keeping us looking human. But online, on social media, that's where a lot of this fake idea of what beauty is kind of overpowers you. And then I have young cousins and stuff like that, and you see their friends or even them like all caked on, and you're just like, man, I didn't start wearing makeup until I was 17, 18. You know, I grew up with brothers. I never thought about, you know, butt implants or breast implants or lip injections or things like that. And they've got videos of it online, and they've got little girls liking and commenting, and it's scary. It's scary, this idea of beauty that is being perpetuated by social media, because it's not only a filter, but it's also incredibly fake. Now, if you want to feel good about yourself, that's totally different. I'm talking about the people who literally want to be put into a machine and come out looking exactly like the last person who was in there. That's totally different. You know, you want to make improvements on yourself. You want to look in the mirror and feel good about yourself. I am all for that. But changing your entire appearance, man, even just with like contouring, girl, I ain't got time to bake. I don't even know how to blend.
I don't even know what that means.
I'm sorry. I learned Instagram.
It's true.
I learned it on Instagram.
Last thing, if you could make up 2 hashtags for this movie, what would they be?
Hashtag killed Peeta.
That's a big one.
Michaela Mayhem. Hashtag Michaela Mayhem.
Alliteration, sure, great.
Everybody loves alliteration.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's already so many. I mean, it's like hashtag remember Al, hashtag tragic girls, hashtag Rosedale killer.
Hashtag pray for Craig.
Yeah, hashtag pray for Craig. That's my personal favorite.
Hashtag go see it. That's what.
Hashtag see our movie.
Go see our movie. 1020.
1020.
The Grove in Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
AMC in New York.
In New York.
Trust me, it's a fun time.
It's a good time.
I just want to know, what's next for the Tragedy Girls?